You live in a cage. You just haven't tested the door. Every city on this list has one thing in common. The geography that makes it livable is the same geography that makes it lethal. We pulled road capacity data, emergency evacuation modelling, Bureau of Meteorology flood records, and supply chain dependency maps. What we found is 7 capital and regional cities where the maths of escape simply doesn't work. When the system breaks, these cities become sealed containers. Millions of people, no way out. By the end of this video, you'll know which cities trap you and exactly why the door won't open. Most people will watch this and do nothing. You're not most people. Let's start with the one that already proved it, Townsville. February 2019. Ross River Dam hits 248% capacity. Think about that number. The dam that's supposed to protect the city is now the threat. Spillway gates open. 20,000 people displaced overnight. And here's the compounding trap. The weather event that causes the crisis is the same event that destroys the escape route. The Bruce Highway, your sole evacuation corridor, floods in the exact conditions that require evacuation. You can't leave because the reason you need to leave is the reason you can't. The crisis and the escape failure share the same trigger. Every road out runs through the same floodplain the water's already claimed. The flood is the trap and the flood is the lock. Now go north. Cairns. People call it paradise. It is. It's also a box. Great Dividing Range to the west. Crocodile-infested wetlands north and south. One road in, one road out. The Bruce Highway. Cyclone Jasper, December 2023. The city was cut off for days. Supplies dwindling. No road access. No alternative route. Remember the compounding trap from Townsville. Cairns is the same physics with worse geometry. At least Townsville has flat land around it. Cairns sits in a geographic cage with walls made of mountains, swamp, and ocean. When cyclone season nails that single door shut, you're not stuck in traffic. You're stuck. Period. Paradise with no exit. Darwin, the most exposed capital in the country. Christmas Eve, 1974. Cyclone Tracy hits. 70% of buildings destroyed overnight. It became the largest peacetime evacuation in the nation's history. But here's what matters now. Today, 150,000 people are connected to the rest of the continent by a single road, the Stuart Highway. 1,500 kilometres of remote outback before you reach the nearest major population centre. Extreme tropical heat. Minimal local food production. If the Stuart Highway goes down and it floods regularly in the wet season, Darwin isn't a city anymore. It's an island without water around it. One road, 1,500 kilometres of nothing. Do the maths. Now here's where everything changes. Adelaide. This is the one nobody thinks about. You hear Adelaide and you think wine regions, pleasant weather, manageable size. You don't think death trap. But Adelaide's vulnerability isn't roads or cyclones. It's water. Roughly 40% of Adelaide's water supply depends on the Murray-Darling Basin. 1.4 million people drinking from a river system that runs through 4 states and has already nearly failed. During the Millennium Drought, 2001 to 2009, Adelaide came within months of running dry. Months, not years, not decades. Months. Picture a map of the Murray-Darling system. Now picture a single pipeline running from that system to Adelaide's taps. That's not metaphor, that's infrastructure. When the eastern states draw down the Murray for agriculture, Adelaide's allocation shrinks. When drought drops, basin flows, Adelaide's clock starts ticking. Every other city on this list runs out of roads. Adelaide runs out of water, and water doesn't wait. Test the door. Hobart, the prepper favourite. Small, quiet, isolated, fertile land, cool climate. It looks like the perfect escape. That's the trap. The entire city funnels east to west across the Tasman Bridge. January 1975. A bulk carrier struck it. The bridge collapsed. Hobart was split in half, or not for days, not for weeks, for over 2 years. Remember that when someone tells you Hobart's bridge dependency is theoretical, it's historical. Tasmania relies on the Spirit of Tasmania ferry and air freight for supply. The island produces food, yes, but fuel, medicine, industrial parts, construction materials, all of that comes across Bass Strait. Once external supply lines are severed, the island's isolation becomes a resource trap, not a resource advantage. Isolation is only an advantage until the last ship stops coming. Melbourne. This is the one that shocks people. 5 million people. Sprawling. Feels open. Feels escapable. It isn't. The entire Western Corridor depends on the West Gate Bridge. Remember Hobart's Tasman Bridge. Same single point of failure, except Melbourne has 5 million people behind it instead of 250,000. Emergency services modelling shows inner suburb evacuation alone would take over 24 hours. That's not gridlock. That's mathematics. Melbourne sits at the top of Port Phillip Bay with only 2 real directional escapes. West toward Geelong, northeast toward the Hume. 2 doors, 5 million people. Every arterial freeway gridlocks in normal peak hour. Now add panic. Now add a bushfire pushing from the north. Now add everyone making the same decision at the same time. 5 million people. 2 directions, 24 hours just for the first suburbs. Sydney, the largest sealed container on the continent. Greater Sydney holds over 5.3 million people. Supply chains funnel through a handful of highway corridors and a single major port. The 2022 New South Wales floods showed the 72-hour shelf emptying timeline. 3 days. That's how fast supermarket shelves go bare when trucking routes are disrupted. Western suburbs sit 60+ kilometres from the coast. Every exit route bottlenecks through the same motorway interchanges. The M4, the M5, the M7. Names you know from traffic reports. Now think of them as evacuation corridors. They don't function as corridors. They function as funnels. And funnels don't move 5.3 million people. They compress them. Remember Adelaide's water clock. Sydney has a supply clock. 72 hours once the trucks stop rolling. Sydney doesn't have an evacuation plan. It has a bottleneck with 5.3 million people behind it. 7 cities. 7 different geographies. 1 pattern. Every city on this list has already failed under real conditions, not hypotheticals. Documented failures with dates. Cyclones, floods, drought, bridge collapse, shelf clearance. Each one exposed the same truth. The infrastructure you assume will save you has already proven it won't. There are 3 variables that determine whether your city is a home or a trap. Number of exit corridors, supply chain redundancy, water source independence. If any one of those scores 0, you're not living in a city. You're living in a container with the lid resting on top. Residents who relocated from single corridor cities to multi-access regional centres during the pandemic saw 3 to 5 times improvement in supply chain resilience based on freight route redundancy alone. That's not ideology. That's logistics. You now see what 25 million people refuse to look at. You tested the door. Most never will. Drop your city below and we'll tell you if it made the extended list. If these are the cities you need to leave, the next question is where you actually go. We mapped that too. Test the door.